Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot and today we are going to look at the top 10 dinosaur games of all time. Now this list is obviously my personal opinion, but as a channel specialising in dinosaur gaming, we've done a lot of dinosaur games on this channel and I think this list represents quite a good selection. If you do disagree with any of them, feel free to let us know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions, but stay tuned next 5 seconds as we find the top 10 dinosaur games ever made. The newest game on our list, released on the 2nd of June 2015, Ark Survival Evolved, certainly has the potential to begin climbing up the rankings. Despite being hampered by early server and optimization issues, it is so far proving to be an able remedy to the bad taste left in many gamers' mouths after the whole Stomping Land debacle. Featuring a sprawling island dotted with cave systems, waterfalls, and a huge array of prehistoric creatures, this open world multiplayer game lets you work together, or not, to try and tame gigantic dinosaurs, or just slaughter helpless dodos. It's currently only out for PCs on Steam, but a console release is planned for 2016, and do not be surprised if this time next year the game has risen up the rankings. Released in 1994 for the Sega Mega Drive, or the Sega Genesis as it was known in North America, this side-scrolling game combined two distinctly different playstyles into one package. Players could either run and gun as the ever popular Alan Grant, or they could tear their enemies limb from limb as a velociraptor. Whilst it may not thematically fit the decidedly less shoot 'em up style of the first film, it was still a wholly enjoyable yet challenging title that was the first experience of Jurassic Park via video games for many of us. It also appears to be direct inspiration for a Jurassic Park game that's going to appear a little bit later on our list. Number 8 on our list is Dino Crisis, a 1999 PlayStation title that took direct inspiration from Capcom's breakout franchise of the time, Resident Evil. Putting a horror slant on dinosaurs that had rarely been seen before, Dino Crisis contained the same claustrophobic corridors and jump scare moments that we'd learned to love from the famed horror series. Plus that scene with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, how good was that? It spawned a host of sequels, and despite perhaps leaning a little bit too heavily on its Resident Evil trappings, it proves to this day to be a thrilling and often terrifying battle against prehistoric forces. The Lost World Jurassic Park arcade game was the bane of parents' wallets around the world. A rail shooter released in 1994, for many of us growing up this game was what a trip to the local bowling alley was all about. Players would clamber into large, foreboding arcade cabinets, pick up their light guns, and blast their way through a massive collection of prehistoric creatures including Dilophosaurus, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Carnotaurus, and of course, the feces of a Brachiosaurus. We'd emerged drained of our pocket money but happy, and ready to come back the next day to do it all again. Whilst it perhaps doesn't stand the test of time too well as an emulated PC title, which you can play using various programs like MAME, find an old working arcade machine and this game is still able to elicit those same childhood moments of glee. A game inspired by the aforementioned Sega Rampage edition of Jurassic Park, The Lost World Jurassic Park for the PS1 released in 1997, though re-released and made easier for a special 1998 edition, this action-adventure title featured the same character swapping as its prequel, except this time we got to control a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Compsognathus along with the human and raptor characters. Brutally difficult and punishing to this very day, the game is anything but a walk in the park. Sorry, I kind of had to, but it rewards players with exciting levels, varied enemies, and a final level wherein the player controls the film's Sarah Harding and has to flee from a rampaging Tyrannosaurus Rex across an obstacle-filled course. It's challenging, but it's thrilling, and the game is definitely still worth your time today. A contentious decision, I'm sure, but Primal Carnage Extinction emerges at number 5 in our list. A re-release of sorts of the earlier Primal Carnage, this currently PC-only title pits humans vs dinosaurs in intense multiplayer deathmatches, as well as objective-based challenges where players must literally get to the chopper. Whilst it suffered from balancing issues in the past and is certainly a vocal minority before the original game, this sort of remake keeps the older game in its shadow via improved graphical fidelity, a huge range of dinosaur skins with an included loot system, and much more consistent balance updates. A work in progress, to be sure, but for a pick up and play dinosaur game that pits humans versus dinosaurs, Primal Carnage Extinction is incredibly hard to beat. Speaking of multiplayer dinosaur games, The Hunter Primal rolls in at number 4. A game that seemed to come out of nowhere to surprise us all in 2014, this spin-off from the more typical Hunter games was a breath of fresh air and seemed to spark a continued resurgence in dinosaur-based video games. Players were dropped onto a beautiful open island, given a bow and a smattering of arrows, and basically told to go out there and survive. This was never an easy challenge. Utah raptors and Tyrannosaurus rexes roamed the island hunting for prey, and even if the player managed to avoid them, they were just as likely to be plucked into the sky by a Quetzalcoatlus. Lacking in dinosaur variety, the ones present are well designed and entertaining to battle, and the social aspect often leads to T-Rex hunting parties gathering together in one common, often bloody-ended goal. Always enjoyable, always beautiful, and absolutely soaked in atmosphere, The Hunter Primal is one of the best games for experiencing a true Jurassic Park style atmosphere, and is well deserving of a top 5 spot on our list. The only direct sequel on our list, Dino Crisis 2 took everything that made the original great, namely, dinosaurs, and honed in on them expertly. Released like its prequel on the PlayStation 1, this 2000 release toned down the straight from Resident Evil horror trappings and instead focused on a bombastic action-adventure style. The dinosaurs much more suited this new style, and it allowed Capcom to have a lot more fun with their designs and to populate the game much more fully with the creatures. Whilst the plot is incoherent at times, at best, the thrilling set pieces, such as the scene where the player battles plesiosaurs from the rear of a gunboat, or the clashing of two gigantic carnivorous theropods, ensured the game keeps your attention gripped from start to climactic finish. Well, isn't this weird? Number 2 on our list is not only a movie tie-in game, but it's one where dinosaurs don't even feature in the main title. Despite that, this 2005 game for the GameCube, Xbox, PC and PS2 remains one of the greatest dinosaur games ever. Split into two just as Rampage Edition was so long ago on the Sega, the player is either playing an FPS game as a human, or a third-person brawler as the titular King Kong. Calling any of this game an FPS feels like a bit of a disservice though. Instead of blasting through hordes of dinosaurs, the atmosphere is much more foreboding and dark. Our main character is low on ammo at all times and often resorts to trickery and clever use of the environment to take down his enemies. Though that doesn't work so well on the V-Rex. No, to take those down you must battle as Kong himself, partaking in large-scale and extremely dramatic fights with the gigantic dinosaurs until somebody emerges blooded but victorious. Not only, in my humble opinion, the best movie-based game ever made, but also the second best dinosaur game. It would take something particularly special to beat it. And luckily for us, we got something special. Released in 2003 for the Xbox, PS2 and PC, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis is both the best Jurassic Park game of all time and the best dinosaur game of all time. It is a game so good that it is actively modded to this very day, a game so good that I am still drawn to play on it on this channel on an annual basis. Operation Genesis allowed the player to essentially become John Hammond and create their dream Jurassic Park. After choosing an island size and shape, the player would build the park as they saw fit. The paths, the shops, the exhibits, the rides, the dig sites, all of it was under the player's control. Backed by an ever phenomenal musical score, Operation Genesis truly evokes the sense of wonder that we all felt when we first saw that Brachiosaurus in Jurassic Park. Players can zoom in for a close-up view of the huge variety of present dinosaurs, many of which didn't make it into the films, and watch in awe as they herd together and seem to form social bonds, or horror as your two favourite carnivores tear into each other. And of course, at the end of the day, when you have a 5-star park, you can always remove the fences and inspire your own carnivorous feeding frenzy. In fact, you definitely should. If you only play one game on this list, it should be this one. There's a lot of good games that didn't make this list. The original Primal Carnage, a host of the Carnivores games that I definitely recommend you check out, even Telltale's Jurassic Park, whilst intensely disappointing, does still have its positives and is probably still worth a check out for any Jurassic Park fans. This list is my personal top 10. I think a lot of us agree Jurassic Park Operation Genesis remains an absolute highlight of dinosaur gaming, but it is an exciting year for us as fans of dinosaurs in gaming. We've got LEGO Jurassic World on the way, Prehistoric Kingdoms on the way, Dinosaur Battlegrounds is on the way, Saurian is on the way. There is a host of very, very exciting dinosaur games this year. It's an exciting time, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you stick around on the channel with me as we continue our journey to play every single dinosaur game ever made. Thank you so much for joining me for this little list. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you disagree, feel free to rearrange, put your own list down there in the comments a bit, and nice to see you lovely people in the next episode. Cheers, much love, as always, bye bye.